Hey YouTube, MusicMan1310 here, and today it's going to get a little bit personal on my end. Yesterday, a lot of you may or may not know, but yesterday was actually Asperger's Awareness Day, kind of. I wouldn't call it Awareness Day, but pretty much it's a day where we just recognize that there are kids in the world, people in the world, that has something called Asperger's syndrome. Now, before I continue on, how is it personal to me? Let's talk about what Asperger's syndrome is. First off, let's talk about what it's not. It's not stupidity, it's not ADHD, it's not any of that. It's not really a mental condition thing. It is a condition, but it's more of a social condition than a mental one. When you're saying that something is a mental condition, you're practically saying that something's wrong with their mind, that they're not thinking straight, or that they're just not responding correctly or anything like that. They're not doing what a normal person would do. Given that, it's like Asperger's syndrome is not that it's not that effect. It just isn't. I don't understand why people say it is when in reality it isn't, because there are a lot of people that actually has Asperger's syndrome that are incredibly smart. Well, one example that I can think of off the top of my head, believe it or not, Einstein had Asperger's syndrome. That's right, the genius that everybody loves, the German genius that everybody loves. Well, not actually, was he German? I think he was. I'm pretty sure he was. He did come from Germany, but I could be wrong there, so I might wiki afterwards. But anyways, one of the smartest people in the world, or was in the world, has Asperger's syndrome. And if you don't know who Einstein is, really study up on your science, because he's the guy that came up with E equals MC squared, that equation. I don't know what it's actually called, or I don't remember what it's called because it's been so long that I did science and study about Einstein. But anyways, we're not talking about science, we're not talking about Einstein, we're talking about this social condition called Asperger's syndrome. Now, what do I mean when something is a social condition? It means that there's nothing wrong intellectual with the person that has Asperger's syndrome, but it's pretty much something is not clicking with certain social cues that normal people have. For instance, a normal person would see a wink as one of two things. It's either you can trust me, or it's a way of flirting. Now, people with Asperger's might miss one or both if they're not careful about these type of social cues. Because when it comes to Asperger's, like I said, it's a social condition. So a lot of things just slip their minds. I almost said my mind, but we're not at that point of the video yet. So pretty much, it's safe to say that people with Asperger's, they're not stupid. They actually could be as smart as Einstein. They could be. Doesn't mean that they are, but they could be. They just are having a little bit of issues with communicating between people, interacting with people and with society, because what they think don't always match what the normal person thinks. Actually, I'm not going to use normal, because normal means that there's a standard, that this is how things should go. And with people, I don't believe people can be normal. So I don't consider people normal or weird, just individuals. So I'm going to say average. The average person may not be able to relate to someone with Asperger's syndrome because of the way the two different minds think. An average person would think of a social cue as one way, while the person with Asperger's might think of it as something completely different, or might not put much thought to it at all. Now, we're about halfway into the video, so I think now it's gonna be the time for what I tease about how it's personal to me, because I happen to be one of those people with Asperger's syndrome, and to me, it's like I take great offense that people get bullied because of this social condition, because that was me as a child. I was the one always getting picked on as a child, because, well, first off, it was because I wasn't actually born in the U.S. I was born in the South American country Chile, which is the flag that you're seeing on my emblem. But overall, it's just that I didn't know how to talk with people. I would always shut myself out because I just was too shy. Now, a little bit of history that I'm willing to open up about myself is that when I was a child, especially in like kindergarten and first grade, I did not know what was going on because okay, here's a story that I heard my parents say. There was one time in my elementary classroom where pretty much I was asked to count to 10 by a teacher. Now, I wouldn't because I was that shy with talking to the teacher. But then one day, I don't know exactly what happened, but I started counting, but I counted to 100. Now, think about it. It's like I have Asperger syndrome. I was thought as stupid by the teachers because I couldn't count to 10, but then just one day I counted to 100. I did 10 times what the teacher asked. Now, there was another scenario that I'm willing to open up where actually this didn't happen directly to me, but it was about me. But one of the teachers actually thought that I had ADD because when I was diagnosed with Asperger's, it was like 50 years since people realized that this condition exists. So it was a relatively new medical condition. Well, social condition. It could be medical, but it's more social, like I said. So not a lot of people really picked up on on it. Now, I was taken to a psychiatrist to see whether or not I did have ADD or something else was going on in my mind. And based on what my parents told me, was that the psychiatrist actually had me in a room putting together a puzzle piece, and I love doing puzzles. Trust me on this one. So what happened was that the psychiatrist was just talking to my parents. I was just doing the puzzle piece. Like a few minutes later, the psychiatrist actually stopped my parents in mid-conversation and focused their attention to me, and I was still doing the puzzle. And this was few minutes after I was told to do this whole puzzle solving thingy. But that just proves that I did not have ADD because anybody with ADD wouldn't have that much intention or focus towards one particular thing. People with ADD always just switches focus and switch their attention between different people. Like a person with ADD or ADHD would probably at one point be focusing on the classroom, but then all of a sudden, and this is just random, would be focusing on what's going to happen after school with the sports team, and then all of a sudden next second what's going to be home for dinner. All of a sudden the next second, well, should I sharpen my pencil or something like that. That's how the mind of an ADD person works. They're not focused on one particular thing for too long. But me, I was focused on one thing for minutes. That is considered too long for me to have ADD. So rule out the ADD. What else could it be? Eventually, the psychiatrist diagnosed that I had Asperger's. Now, one quick relation that I want to put in is that Asperger's syndrome is a cousin to autism. This is a very touchy topic, which is why I saved it to the end, because there's a lot of controversial on how autism form, and autism is again a social condition. It's just stronger than Asperger's, and actually autism came first. So Asperger's is just the weaker version of autism. And one thing that I'm doing it is because of Asperger's Awareness Day or Autism Awareness Day. But another thing is that every time I go on the internet, I always see, well, not always, but I do see a lot of controversial that vaccines cause autism by pretty much the anti-vaccine group and all that. And to me, it's like I take that to heart because I'm close to being autistic, that I'm actually qualified as autistic with Asperger's syndrome. But people are just blaming it on something that's supposed to help you live a healthier life, and that to me is just personally offensive. So I just don't understand people like that, and this is getting too emotional for me, so I'm probably just going to end the video here. But one thing that I do want you to take out of this is people with Asperger syndrome, they might have difficulties with most social cues, but at the same time, they want what everybody else wants, to belong. If you just take away their right to belong to whatever group they want to, then you're practically taking away their humanity, and that in itself is immoral by any standards, any and all the standards. So please, if you meet somebody that just seems like they have Asperger's or something's up with them socially, just be patient with them, because it's just going to take a while for certain cues to click in. That's going to be it. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe for more. I do have a Twitter. It'll be in the description below. This is Music Man 3010 signing out. Peace.